I go out in Rio in a day that the water's kind of murky, and there was these baby barracudas that we have here. They don't grow, and little jacks and small fish just swimming fast around. And I just start shooting them. And in this video, I do wrist shots, I do hip shots. So I enjoy going out and making a stringer of these 1 kilo fish, 800 grams fish, and you get a good target practice. So, you know, and that's the most useful thing for shooting big fish. In competitions, I've excelled as a big fish trophy winner. I have much more big fish trophies than first place trophies. And one of the reasons is because I have very precise shooting. So I can spearfish with a small gun, land headshots, and bring the fish home. Today is everybody with these huge guns with a bunch of slings, landing belly shots from far away. Yeah. And it's really kind of sloppy spearfishing, and you hurt and damage a lot of fish. You know, so if you have a small agile gun, you can land headshots, and you'll bring the big fish home. In the Blue Water World Cup, which is the tournament that lands the biggest fish in the planet, I've won the big fish trophy 3 times, and always with the Euro gun, 2 slings, competing everybody with the bazookas. But I'm not giving belly shots. I'm giving solid headshots. I shot a big marlin. I shot big amberjack. I shot a bunch of fish. Yeah, so that's sorry.
No,
thanks to all this target practice. It's thanks to all this going out and whacking all these fast-moving small fish.
Headshots like with a 110, like 120, you know, conventional sort of rail gun with a, you know, like 2 bands. I'm guessing sort of like a 16 mil bands or 14 mil bands.
16.
Okay,
2 16s.
When you're hitting a fish in the head, like particularly a large fish, all that skull structure sometimes, like, do you ever have issues with penetration, like getting through into there?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, but I mean, you got to get closer to the fish. But if you have a small agile gun, you can get closer. And it's important to know the anatomy of the fish. I did this in the past, and I recommend shoot a big pelagic fish or bottom fish. Bury the head, let the ants eat all the flesh, and study the skull. The skull is solid in the front, but not only soft through the back, but it has tunnels that actually direct your spear towards the brain. It's like Star Wars, you know, when they are the Death Star and they shoot. It's kind of like that.
Yeah, I remember. So just for the analogy for maybe the younger generation, like Luke's coming in and he's got to drop his payload in a very small target on the Death Stars, and then so this is kind of your analogy. So trying to find those channels into the fish's brain, you know, with your smaller diameter shaft from a smaller spear gun. It's okay, that's cool. I like the analogy too.
Yeah, you shoot the soft spot, and my technique, and use over and over again. The marlin I shot at the Blue Water World Cup was like this. I shot a giant 35 kilo king mackerel with a small 110 on the reel gun recently. Big amberjacks, big pelagic fish. I always let them pass, and I shoot them from behind.
Yeah,
they've all been killed like this.
So
if you saw the marlin,
quartering
and people get to
quartering away from you, and then you're looking for an angle into their head.
Yeah, I let them pass. And this is the shot I want. Not this, but like this. If you have a bazooka, okay, you can do that. But I don't have the bazooka, and I prefer not to. It pays off at the end. So you let the fish pass and give this shot. It's better because you can penetrate the head, but also 2 other benefits. If you give a perpendicular shot, when the fish swims away, your spear is going to wiggle. So you're going to tear the fish and bend the spear. If you shoot like this, you're not going to tear it, and you're not going to ruin your spear, which, I mean, it's not saving spear, but sometimes you're in a boat, there's some remote place, you need your shaft. The year I won the 3 prizes at the Blue Water World Cup, I used 1 single spear for all 7 big fish that I shot, including the marlin. None of them ruined the spear because they're all
So what Francisco is talking about is you don't shoot a fish directly side onto it, like 90-degree sort of shot into their head. You're looking for that sort of, would you say what, 30 to sort of 60-degree angle?
45, yeah, 45. Approximately.
Do you ever, and I've had this happen to me, it sounds like you're far more precise a shot than I am. Have you ever had your spear glance off their head?
Yeah. I mean, Instagram is only the highlight reel, right? The less glorious moments. But once I actually landed a headshot, and it was kind of blood my spear, and I said, "How does this grouper get away?" But so it took me like 20 minutes to dive into the hole again. It was a 21-kilo grouper, if I'm not mistaken, and I found the grouper passed out. It was just knocked right here, and it just passed out. So that way, it was a glance with a happy end, but. And I don't know, 30 plus years of spearfishing, that only happened once. So don't count on it.
Have you looked at the head structure of a big groper? Like they just seem so much more cartilage and hard stuff to get through in their heads than other fish.
Yeah, the cubera and the groupers have the toughest head. And this shot here, like with my spear with the
unicorn
7 mil, it won't have penetration if I'm not close by. So lesson for if you want to shoot big fish, never try a miracle shot. Miracle shots don't land big fish. You're going to hurt the fish. You're going to waste your time, and you're going to lose an opportunity because many times the fish come back. So, you know, if there's a big grouper facing me, I get really close while I look for, you know, my shot from behind, which also works for groupers. It's not only for pelagic fish.
I was going to ask you about that. So like with grouper species, a lot of the time they're coming out of their structure and it's like a defense mechanism, and they quite often come to us head first. So that unicorn shot that we're talking about is pretty common with those particular species. And then sometimes waiting for them to turn, they do it in like such a quick motion. It's very hard to get that ideal shot. I mean, have you got any techniques for that?
Well, the pelagic, I let them pass and do the shot. If a grouper gives me a headshot, I'll take the headshot. I'll take the headshot. I won't wait for it to turn around. If it turns and then, you know, fish go like that. So it's important to have your shot the fish walk into your shot. So especially with mackerels that in your side of the world are present a lot. It's one of the few fish you can actually dive and chase. You can dive and swim after a mackerel. They won't. I can't recall of any other fish. But that shot from behind, you have to calculate when it walks into your shot. A lot of you see on videos, people shooting the fish is going like this. Even if you land it, it's not as penetrating. So any fish that's not facing you, I try to work on this. And if you see I'm trying to work on this, and I'm making gestures here. And
it's okay.
It'll be. Maybe you can explain it better.
So what Francisco is talking about is like some fish in the Spanish mackerel, the Scomberus, sort of the mackerel species, they will sort of swim side to side, and if you're swimming directly behind them, they continue to keep turning so that they can see you, and you can exploit that by actually swimming on an angle to make sure that you're always in their blind spot, and then eventually they turn broadside to you. And that's when you can get a shot opportunity. I remember reading about that technique in this old little blue black and white book called The Len Jones Guide to Spearfishing. And I looked at the picture. I understood the concept almost immediately. And I remember the first time I pulled it off, I was like, this is the friggin' one of the coolest things ever. And it's so cool when when people hand on that knowledge, and that's exactly what you're doing. So yeah, it's awesome. They're a really fun fish because, like you say, you're in mid-water. You can just follow behind, and then you try and make sure you're always in their blind spot, and then they turn and give you a shot. It's cool.